Hello and welcome. Today on Mirror Tale, we bring you a story about a figure that transcends time and borders, the ultimate symbol of justice and societal balance, Lady Justice. In the vast halls of governance, on the seals of nations, and etched into the history of civilization, stands one universal figure, Lady Justice. She is more than a statue. She is the ancient, enduring symbol of an ideal that underpins all functional societies. The ideal of fairness, truth, and order. Yet, what does this figure truly promise? And how does her ancient Greco-Roman heritage translate into the diverse, complicated legal realities of our modern world? To understand her global application, we must first look at her roots, tracing her back to the Greek goddess Themis, who personified divine order, and her daughter Dike, who represented human moral judgment. Lady Justice, or Justitia, is the Roman evolution of these figures. Let's unlock the meaning behind her three iconic symbols. The first symbol, the scales of justice. Held high in her hand, they represent the absolute requirement to weigh the evidence impartially. They ensure that every argument, every piece of testimony, and every fact must be measured, one against the other, with no predetermined bias. The scales are perhaps the most historically resonant. They echo the ancient Egyptian concept of mat, where the heart of the deceased was weighed against a single feather, a test of a lifetime of moral integrity. The second symbol, the sword. This is the symbol of the state's power and finality. The sword represents the authority to enforce law and order, and to execute judgment. It is typically a double-edged sword, indicating that the law cuts both ways. It can strike down the guilty, but it can also defend the innocent. Its presence ensures that the ideals of the scales translate into real-world consequences. The final and most debated symbol, the blindfold. It signifies that justice must be impartial, blind to a person's wealth, background, politics, or power. However, the blindfold is not universal. Early representations of Justitia often omitted it. This created a philosophical divide. Should justice be purely objective and blind to personal details? Or should it be fully informed by context and aware of the social realities that influence a case? Today, the blindfold is a symbol of aspirational impartiality, serving as a constant reminder of the duty of judges and lawyers to ignore all but the law. The application of this figure and her principles varies widely depending on a nation's legal framework. Most Western nations adhere to one of two great traditions, common law or civil law. In common law systems, found in the US, UK, and much of the Commonwealth, justice is built on precedent past rulings shape future ones. Lady Justice here emphasizes the adversarial system, where two sides fight before an impartial judge. In civil law nations like France and Germany, the focus is on codified, comprehensive written laws. The judge often plays a more active inquisitorial role. Here, Lady Justice emphasizes the authority of the written legal code over individual judicial interpretation. But what about cultural divergences? Many nations have consciously chosen to adapt or reject this figure to align with their own histories. In India, a new statute for the Supreme Court emphasizes constitutionalism over Roman enforcement, holding the constitution instead of the sword, marking a shift toward justice rooted in modern democratic values. We also see profound departures in legal philosophy. Sharia law in many Islamic nations is derived from religious texts. The principles of justice are therefore tied to divine decree, providing a completely separate standard of fairness and moral order than that of Justitia. These global differences show that while the pursuit of fairness is universal, the methods and philosophies of how we achieve justice are deeply tied to a nation's history and core beliefs. Lady Justice is a constant standard. She is the question every government must answer, and the mirror in which every society must view its own morality. Her scales remind us to seek truth, her sword commands enforcement, and her blindfold insists on equality. The pursuit of justice is not a finished work. It is an ongoing global endeavor, driven by the timeless promise of this ancient silent figure.